How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather SpongeBob. Today is November 2nd, 2021, and today we're going to focus on the major Arctic invasion that's expected to bring temperatures up to 10 to 20 degrees below average in some areas along the eastern half of the United States. And we'll also talk about the big warm up that's expected this week throughout the West Coast. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current GFS model when it comes to temperature anomaly. And one of your questions might be, well, when will this end? How cold the temperatures will be, and how far below average will temperatures be for this week in your area? So a couple of frost warnings are issued throughout the East Coast, because for a lot of you guys, it is going to be the first time you're going to experience freezing temperatures for the 2021-2022 winter, as now we're quickly approaching that time where we're going to start to feel winter-like conditions, and this week won't be any different from what you'd experience during the winter. It'll be maybe a little bit warmer than what you typically experience during the winter, but not by much, as you could clearly tell that based off on the GFS model, the temperatures are way colder than average throughout the eastern half of the United States, while it's a stark contrast along the West Coast. And this, as of right now, you see the worst of the cooler than average temperatures are located right around the Midwest at this time. And you might be wondering, why are we experiencing colder than average conditions? Well, it's as a result of a big trough that's currently centered over eastern Canada at this point, and it's bringing a strong northerly flow to the northeastern United States. There's a little bit of a pressure gradient between this ridge located in the Midwest as well as this trough as well to the northeast, and you see that it's bringing a strong northwesterly flow further southward, bringing that cooler Canadian air further southward, and that's why we're going to experience the coldest temperatures of the year, of the fall season so far, as we're quickly going to approach winter-like temperatures throughout the East Coast, and some are already experiencing winter-like temperatures. If we were to continue to move forward, you see that jet stream dip continues. However, eventually we will see things warm up a little bit earlier for the Midwest, because of course in the United States, or at least in the Northern Hemisphere, the weather moves from west to east, so eventually we're going to see this jet stream dip move further eastward. So we're going to see temperatures rebound a little bit throughout the Midwest, but the cooler than average temperatures should continue into Thursday, November 4th, where we still see that pronounced jet stream dip, bringing those cold temperatures further southward throughout the northeast, and then headed into the 5th. The cooler than average temperatures continue, as this jet stream is not moving fast enough for temperatures to rebound very quickly. And what's interesting is that we potentially could see maybe a northeaster type storm as a result of this instability. As you see, there's quite a formidable low pressure system, but the good news is, for some of you who don't like the cold, this low pressure system should help rebound temperatures back to average for a little bit, because of course when there's a low pressure nearby, especially during the winter time, there's a lot of convergence with the air molecules right around the low pressure system, and that heats up the atmosphere, despite the fact that the clouds are blocking the short wave radiation for the sun from heating up the surface. The convergence around a low pressure system is enough to warm up the temperatures above average or right around average during the winter time. But you see that it's expected to stay offshore, which is good news. And then I'd say the cooler than average temperature should end as soon as this trough moves further eastward, right around next week, early next week into Monday, November 8th to November 9th. That's when we should see temperatures rebound for the most part throughout the eastern half of the United States. Now, taking a look at the actual temperature anomaly map to see where the worst of the cold temperatures, or where the worst of the departure of averages will be located, you see that we're seeing a little bit of purples more towards the southeast, closer to the Ohio River Valley, where we're seeing some darker shades of purple, which represents temperatures that are well below average. We're of course seeing temperatures below average in the northeast as well, but the GFS model is putting more of an emphasis on the southeast experiencing cooler than average conditions, but it extends all throughout the East Coast. And then you see by November 8th, most of the cold air should be out of the Northeast, as we should see temperatures not only rebound, but rebound back to above average for the most part, especially through the Midwest, where we do see the darker reds, the pinks, which represents temperatures well above average, and we see this extend to the Southwest as well, where temperatures are well above average as well. So this is definitely something we need to pay close attention to over the next several days, as there's expected to be a big Arctic blast. Now, taking a look at what the European model is stating, it's putting more of an emphasis on the coordinate temperatures to be further northward, closer to the Midwest states, right around Chicago and Iowa. And you see that it's more centered towards the northern portion of the United States rather than the southeastern portion. So what really will determine which area experiences the worst of the cold really all depends on this jet stream dip. If the jet stream dip dips further southward, then we're more likely to see the cold air have more of an emphasis towards the southeast, while if the jet stream dip were a little bit more northward, then I'd say more of the cold air would have an emphasis on the northeast, because of course if the jet stream were to dip further southward, that would mean that more of the cold air will be focused in on one area, which is the northeast. If it were further southward, that means the cold air would divert a little bit, so the northeast won't experience air that's as cold as, let's say, if the jet stream dip were a little bit less pronounced. So we just have to wait and see. It really all depends on this northerly flow, but overall you still should expect temperatures well below average throughout the eastern half of the United States. And your question is, how much below average? So now let's take a look at the exact temperature forecast provided from the GFS model, see what type of temperatures you should experience as lows and as highs over the next week. So taking a look at the temperatures, for over the next week. So this is as of right now. This is as of November 2nd, right around the afternoon. You see that the Interstate 95 corridor is hovering barely right around 50 degrees, which is below average. Typically during this time of the year, the average temperature is closer to the 60-degree mark, and you see that majority of the Midwest is under 40-degree temperatures, which again is below average because they're closer to the 50-degree mark when it comes during early November, and we see temperature readings in the 30s as highs in the upper Midwest, which is below average. Now let's take a look at the lows during for the night entering from November 2nd to November 3rd. You see that we see a large area where the temperatures will be below freezing for tonight, where we're going to see temperatures in the 20s in the upper Midwest. This extends to the Great Lakes region as well, where Chicago is experiencing near freezing conditions. Detroit is right around 32 degrees as a low, and we even see this extend to the Northeast, especially the interior Northeast, where the temperatures for the most part in that area are hovering right around the freezing point. Right around the I-95 corridor, it's a little bit warmer. Of course, the ocean has a lot to do with it. The Atlantic Ocean typically does warm up the temperatures along the coast, since pretty much the ocean takes a lot longer to react to changes in temperature than the air does. So during the winter we typically see the water temperature a lot warmer than the air temperature, which does warm up the temperatures overall throughout the Interstate 95 corridor. But you see that temperatures will hover still right around the 35-degree mark as a low. Now taking a look at the high for November 3rd, the temperatures are still hovering right around the 40-degree mark for the most part, and we see that New York City is barely reaching 50 degrees, and we even see 49 right around Boston. So we're definitely seeing those temperatures cool down quite a bit compared to average. And then you see that heading into November 4th, the cold air now has more of an emphasis on the Great Lakes, where we're seeing temperature readings now in the 20s, and this will continue into November 5th, where now you're starting to see the temperatures warm up around the Midwest, where the lows will only hover right around the 40-degree mark and even 50s, which is pretty good for you guys, and might be considered above average for a lot of you guys in the Midwest. But you see that the Northeast and the Great Lakes are still experiencing temperatures well below average, where we're seeing readings right around the freezing point. And this extends to the Southeast as well, where the Southeast is experiencing lows in the 40s. So things are definitely cooling down for you guys. And it's not until November 8th we begin to see those temperatures finally rebound back to average throughout the East Coast. So this is definitely something you guys want to keep in mind along the East Coast. This Arctic invasion should last, I'd say, right around till Sunday or Monday to around the Northeast, and it should end a little bit earlier, probably by Thursday. It should end for the extreme western portion of the Great Lakes, right around the Great Plains region, but it should take a little longer as you head further eastward, because of course weather moves from west to east, so the areas further eastward still have yet to experience the worst of the cold for this week. So make sure to get those coats ready, because you definitely will experience winter-like conditions when it comes to temperature over the next week or so. Now taking a look at the Arctic oscillation, which is another big determinant in what type of temperatures you'll experience right around the United States. You see that we're in a negative phase right now, but we're expected to rebound back into a positive phase fairly quickly, and this isn't surprising, because we're going to see a big warm up right around the Midwest headed into next week, but we should still experience cooler than average conditions despite a positive Arctic oscillation, because it takes a while for the atmosphere to really react to changes when it comes to weather patterns, including the Arctic oscillation. So we're still going to experience cooler than average conditions despite a positive Arctic oscillation, which typically does bring warmer than average conditions throughout the United States and less instability as well. Now taking a look at my forecast when it comes to the areas where they'll experience much colder than average conditions or much warmer than average conditions for this week, I'm expecting the worst of the cold to be right along the Ohio Valley, extending to the mid-Atlantic states as well as the Great Lakes region, as is what the computer models seem to have a consensus on, especially the European. It wants to bring the coldest air right around the Ohio Valley to the Great Lakes, to the mid-Atlantic region. So this is where I'd expect temperatures to be much colder than average, where I think you guys should experience temperatures in excess of 10 to 15 degrees below average. So it should be a cold week for you guys. In the blue, it should be a little bit less cold than average, but still colder than average. You definitely will feel it, as I expect the temperature departure to be right around 5 to 10 degrees below average for the most part, which is noticeable for a lot of people. And then just outside of that, I'm expecting it to be just colder than average, maybe around 5 degrees below normal, but nothing major. And especially towards the Great Plains, I think you guys should warm up fairly quickly, so it isn't a major concern for you guys in the long-term future. But taking a look at the West Coast, you see I'm expecting conditions to be much warmer than average. We're of course still in a drought along the West Coast, so you guys are still under a very dominating ridge at this point, bringing that short-wave radiation from the sun along the surface to warm up the area right around the West Coast. But so you guys should experience warmer than average conditions for this week. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.